Aloha class, my presentation is on the article called The Courage to be Constructivist. Now this article is written by Martin G. Brooks and Jacqueline Grennan Brooks. They are also the authors of In Search of Understanding the Case for Constructivist Classrooms, and Jacqueline has experience teaching in all grade levels as well as experience being a vice principal. And here's a picture of Jacqueline and a picture of the cover of their book. Now, Constructivism. Constructivism is a theory of learning that describes the central role that learners' ever-transforming mental schemes play in their cognitive growth. Now, this theory does not believe in the traditional model of state standards equals state tests, state test results equals student achievement equals rewards and punishment. Constructivism is all about the learner and the not black and white process of learning. Everybody learns differently, and everybody is their own person who processes things differently. So we can't teach everybody the same exact way. The article gives us an example of a pattern that high-stakes assessments seem to take. It says, after the first assessment of most state assessments, school scores rise because educators align curriculum closely with the assessments and they focus classroom instruction directly on test-taking strategies. Now, I've seen this to be true in my educational experience. I grew up mostly in Florida, where we had to take the FCAT various years, which is a standardized test that we take with like reading and math and writing components. And I noticed that oftentimes I found my teachers teaching us essentially what's going to be on the test. They weren't teaching us to help us learn, but teaching us what to expect on the test and how to do well on the test so that we could do well on the test and get good scores. But this doesn't necessarily mean that we were learning more, just that we did better on the test. And a study by Kentucky's Office of Educational Accountability suggests that the increased test scores are due to improved test-taking skills and not increased learning. So that just kind of provides evidence of what this is all about. Now the article outlines 5 tenets of constructivism. It says, constructivist teachers seek and value students' points of view. Constructivist teachers structure lessons to challenge students' suppositions. Constructivist teachers recognize that students must attach relevance to the curriculum. Lessons shouldn't be structured around bits of information, but around big ideas. And constructivist teachers assess student learning in the context of daily classroom investigations, not as separate events. And oftentimes we find that when there are standardized tests, and just tests in general, the teachers like to teach what's going to be on the test, such as dates and names of specific people instead of the ideas of the events and whatnot. Now there's a few criticisms of constructivism mentioned in the article, one of which is that constructivism is overly permissive, and the other is that constructivism lacks rigor. And I believe that both of these criticisms can be true. I believe that when a teacher isn't teaching a test, that means they have more freedom to teach, and I could see the teacher being overly permissive and not teaching with the rigor they should, and that's just part of what happens. And hopefully a teacher will see how their students are learning and be able to adjust for the students' learning. And here's a quote from the article. It says, "The logic is clear. The more open and performance-based an assessment is, the more variety in the responses. The more variety in the responses, the more judgment is needed in scoring. The more judgment in scoring, the lower the reliability. At this point, multiple choice items have been reintroduced, performance events discontinued." And this kind of touches on what I was talking about. Basically that constructivism is more open and there's more variety in the responses, which means that there's more judgment in the scoring, so that gives the teacher a little bit more freedom, and if he or she is not careful, that might lead to them being overly permissive or lacking rigor. But I believe that constructivism is important and that it's something we should incorporate into our teaching styles, and that if done correctly, we can avoid these criticisms of being overly permissive and lacking rigor. Thank you. And here are my sources.